Good morning, guys. Richard with the Hunter-Gatherer Society. No dozer today. I am in the Okaloacoochee Slough, I believe. Not entirely certain. I did a spur of the moment camp last night, and it was probably, I bet you it was 5:30 before I even got out here. I decided to just take a drive. The weather was cold. It was kind of rainy. It just wasn't ideal, but the weather forecast said that it was going to break up in the evening. So I decided to just take a drive and try to find a primitive campsite called Panther Pond that I had found online. I found vague reference to it a couple times, and then I did find it on the State Forest website. And so I basically just decided to get in the truck, see if I could find it. If I happen to find a decent campsite, I'd pull over for the evening. I had a new tool that I wanted to try. It was a City Fires portable bonfire. Wanted to try that out. And so got here probably about 5:30 and happened to find a couple empty spots, one that would work for the hammock. So I decided to spend the night. It was like $9, then the state charges you a service charge, so it ends up being about $16 for the night. Now this isn't primitive. I mean, it's primitive camping, but not primitive for me because I can back the truck right up to the hammock. So plus I've got my chair with me today, so pretty easy going for me. But rained last night. It wasn't supposed to. Not hard, but it did rain a little bit. Put the fire out at one point. So I broke out the city bonfires portable campfire, and I pulled that up underneath the tarp, and that worked really well. I have never used one of the little portable, they're a candle on steroids is really what they are. I'd never used one of those, and I'll tell you what, that worked really slick because I wanted to sit here. Noise-wise, it was a beautiful night. It was super quiet. You could hear the frogs. I'm kind of backed up to a slough, and you had all the noise of the night. I wanted to enjoy that, but I couldn't sit out here because it was raining. And so I was able to sit out underneath the tarp. I had a bottle of wine. I had my little bonfire going. The bonfire brought the temperature up a little bit, plus something about seeing a fire brings the temperature up a little bit in your head. I know it's placebo, but it works. So slept really good last night. I fell asleep probably 10 o'clock. The fire was roaring. It had about 3 pieces of oak in it, so it was a nice warm fire kicking some heat up underneath the tarp. And I woke up and there was nothing left of it. And so I got up once in the night and then went back to sleep and got a chance to sleep in this morning, which was kind of nice. So this is a primitive spot. There's no showers. There's an outhouse by the rear entrance where the little pond is. But I had a big hawk come sit on the palm tree above me this morning, and there's a big gator laying up by the outhouses. So got to see a little nature already this morning. Brewed up a little black tea to get my day started. I've never been out to this area, and so my goal today is to get out and just drive around, maybe do a little fishing, explore some of the little back roads that kind of weave in and out of this place. So I'm gonna have some tea, and then I'll break down camp. We'll see if we can find anything interesting. Basil oil. Breakfast. Clean up. Coughlin's camp soap. I like it. I've used that for years. It works really good. I use it for just about everything. I'm just heating up a little water and soap here and clean up the dishes, and it's time to break down camp. Not a bad little gig for 16 bucks a night. Great thing about this, after the washing, we can use it to put the fire out. Always put your fire out. Dishes are done. It's hogging up the fishing hole. Just drifting around. Packed up, and I'm just out doing a little bit of exploring. It is super quiet out here. I mean, this is very, very remote, very, very primitive. I think I said the name wrong earlier. It's the Okaloacoochee Slough State Forest. Okaloacoochee Slough State Forest. That's a tongueful. I will remember that in 10 minutes. But it's anyway, it's very, very primitive back here. But I do like the way they have things set up. So this is not the campground that I stayed at. This is actually closed right now. There must be some hunting going on in the area. There are 2 hunting camps, and I did notice a couple vehicles in there. And what's kind of nice is that, like, I was at the Panther pond. That's very primitive. This one is very primitive. And then the hunt camps, they're very primitive as well, but they're large enough for large RVs. They're a little bigger spots, you know, for more gear. And there's also a horse camp as well that's got actual little corrals that your horse can be in, which is kind of neat. So the hunt camps, generators can go 24 hours, but in the primitive campsites, generators have to be up at 10. So about 9 o'clock last night, somebody put a generator on, and I was not overly impressed. But thankfully, they were considerate and turned it back off probably around 10 o'clock. So that's fine. As long as I don't have to listen to it all night while I sleep, that's okay. So anyway, so like I said, just going around. I'm going to explore this area today and just see what's out here. So get back on the road. So these are those horse camps I talked about, guys. You can see a lot of room, picnic table, fire pits, and they got these cool little corrals back here that you can put the horses in and tie them up. Today they're just occupied by the sandhill cranes, who must be fairly accustomed people because they're not really telling me anything. Usually they're squawking at you. Not today. Kind of cool. Well, guys, ironically, as we get closer to 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the temperatures actually went down a degree. I had thought about spending a second night out here, but with the temperatures actually going down, that means tonight it's probably going to be in the 40s. And the original forecast had called for this to be a sunny day. You can see it is not. If it was sunny, I might consider spending the second night. But so I've just been exploring. There's a bunch of little just back roads that wind through this slough. And as I mentioned before, there's a combination of horse trails, mountain bike trails, and hiking trails that crisscross all through this. Now, I haven't really explored any of the trails today because it's just been kind of drizzly and cold. So I've just been more driving and exploring. But there is one trail that I'm going to check out, so I thought we'd do it long as I'm here today, and that's the Boardwalk Trail. So we're going to check that out in between the rain, and then I'm going to keep exploring, maybe looking for a spot to fish. Maybe we'll see a little wildlife along the trail. So far today, I have seen, of course, alligators. I've seen a raccoon came out in front of the truck and kind of played around on the side of the road. I couldn't get a video of them. Some wild turkeys ran out in front of the truck. Again, no video, I was driving. But I have seen some wildlife out here today. So you never know. Little sitting area. I do like when they label some of the trees. The wax myrtles. It's kind of nice. It's when they do that along trails, it's a nice way to kind of learn the local wildlife or local trees and plants. Hammock. Those are always nice in the summer when it's 107,000 degrees. Gives you a little shade. Interesting. A South Florida slash pine. Kind of a scrubby looking thing. Kind of funny. One thing about this area, there are birds everywhere. And I was just thinking, it's weird. There's no birds out here. Apparently they don't want to be on display today. I see we're down here to see Tree Island. whole slew. You can see there's a fence line in there. You couldn't get to it without getting wet. This used to all be cattle land before they turned it into a state forest. They also raised the slash pines here for lumber. Interesting. But weird, there's not much for birds. There it is, folks. Now you've seen it. All right, back on the road. Well, I'm in the Call of the Wild wildlife management area next to the state forest that I've been kind of exploring this morning. And I think that's about it for today. You know, again, the weather, it's actually gotten cooler. I think it's down to 53 right now. From what I understand, it's going to keep dropping as we get into the evening. It did stop raining, or drizzling is what it's been doing, but that seems to, it stops and then it starts back up again. The clouds have not broke at all, so it just continues to be kind of a nasty day. It was an interesting explore. I would definitely come back here again for bird watching and nature viewing. You know, I saw raccoons, gators, I saw, of course, tons of birds, and you know, it's a beautiful place, and there's tons of trails to explore. I did not explore them today. A lot of them are wet right now. There were a couple hiking trails that were dry, and you can hike some of these back roads as well. So I think there's just about endless hiking. So I would definitely come back for that. And the camp facility was very nice. The campsites were well maintained, well set up. The outhouses that were available, there was no showers, no running water, no potable water there. They had a couple outhouses, but they were very clean. I was actually pretty surprised by how clean they were. And so the facilities that I had were very, very good. I would definitely return to this place. As far as fishing goes, I had hoped to do that today. You know, the website mentioned fishing, talked about some of the canals. You can see the canal behind me. There's not much water in that, so not much fishing there. The ponds, I found a couple little ponds, are more like puddles. There were definitely fish there. You know, of course, there's always catfish just about anywhere you have water. Here in Florida, there's catfish in there, but nothing I could get to bite, and so I didn't really get much fishing in today. Today was more about just exploring this area and checking it out, but it's definitely worth a return, especially as we get back into a foraging season. I think this will be a good visit, and a couple of nice campgrounds back in here. So my next stop is the LaBelle Brewing Company. I think it's time for a cold beer and something good to eat. So thanks for tuning along, and again, not the most exciting adventure, but a fun stop, and I think most importantly, this was not planned. So, you know, sometimes we over-plan, overthink it, and then we just don't go because it seems like it's too much work. I literally just threw everything in the back of the truck and headed out, and I thought, you know, I either camp or I go home. Either way, it's an adventure, and it turned out to be an adventure. So, again, thanks for tuning along, and next time you see me, hopefully I'm out in the woods doing something wild.